Hi everybody. So I wanted to talk about doing sometimes things that are hard, doing hard things. And you can look at my sign behind me. You can do hard things. And specifically, I'm going to talk about this black envelope. You know, it's sometimes you just don't realize the importance of having your stuff in order. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes you're just so busy living in terms of dealing with the tasks of the day, dealing with the pileup of yesterday, envisioning into your future of what goals you're trying to achieve. And sometimes maybe you're not as prepared or organized as you would like to be. And then all of a sudden something happens. And when something happens, it's then that you're like, oh my gosh, where is that? And you're scrambling around trying to find these things. So, point in case the Velcro on here, I'm just going to talk about what I created and something that you might want to create too. So this is basically a folder that I've organized, and it has my important papers. It has, you know, in case there was an emergency, what papers do I need? Identification, you know, any type of information on my van, if I'm traveling, what kind of information do I need with me, and what type of passes or, you know, cards do I have, in the sense of, do I have a copy of that in case I lost it or in case something happened? And, you know, like phone numbers to contact people, a contact list, you know, like copies of, like, you know, like your identification, like when you, what is it called? Like your rewards cards and your credit cards and those types of things. And the point is, initially, I didn't have a plan and a system. I had, you know, fly by the seat of my pants type of, you know, I'll get it when I need it type of a thing. And, you know, I've got like an extra set of keys and that sort of thing. And all of this is packed in this one envelope. And then I have another one as well. So the point is, I have a backup plan. So I have what I need and I can grab it easily. And it has the things that I would need to start over, to prove who I was, to prove my existence and what things that I have going for myself. And at first it seems like kind of an ordeal. Like, do you really need to be that specific? I mean, everything's online. It's all digital, right? You know, I pay for most of my bills online with auto pay. You know, is it really that important to have a printout of the declaration page of your insurance card and your insurance declaration page of what you know, what your insurance services are? And I'm here to say, yeah, it is. You know, sometimes it takes something challenging and something hard, you know, for you to have to go through a difficult period of time for you to be like, I wish I would have had that when such and such happened. So for me, what happened was, a couple years ago, I had a flood, and I'm in a basement, and most of my business papers and files and those sorts of things, the things I was currently working on, were out and about, and I had certain things spread out on the floor because I was doing a project. And you know, and then this flood came, and whatever I had on the floor, it was all ruined. And you know, when I'm trying to get all my important things out of the room and you know, make decisions about, is this something that I can save, or is this something that's completely trashed? Can this lay out in the sun and get dried? Is it worth saving? Do I need to take pictures of it and scan it? I mean, it really was a huge ordeal. And I remember thinking, gosh, I wish I would have had all of my papers in one spot, that, I could just grab, something that has all my important papers, and then I'm good. Like, even if something hits, like a flood, or, a fire or a catastrophe, that, like, I've got what I need. But I didn't. And so, after that happened, I started to put together, what I needed, so that I could grab that easily and have something available in the future in case of an emergency, right? And, and then you get busy, and, like, I know where that, I know where this envelope thing is, right? But was I updating it every 6 months, and I wasn't. And, so then it's like, well, the credit cards that I made a copy of, I'm not using those credit cards anymore. I have different cards. And, I have different insurances, and, from a couple years ago, I have different companies or vendors or what have you. And so then quickly I was like, wow, like, I really need to update this and make sure that everything is viable. And then I was going through a point of redoing something in my van, and that's where the envelope was. And then I pulled everything out of the van, and then that thing got hidden with all the other things that I was pulling out of the van in the process of, doing some renovation. And I misplaced the file. And then I found the second file that was like a duplicate, but then it made me realize, like, oh wow, where's the original file? Like, what happened to that? So what I'm getting at is, sometimes when you're so busy doing the day-to-day tasks that you've already put on your calendar, and you're reaching towards the new goals that you've set for yourself, and you've set up certain organizational things to function for yourself, but maybe you forgot to put on your calendar that you need to update those files, and that you need to revisit them and make sure that all your documents are accurate and up to date. Maybe you need to have something digitally written down, or put a tracking device on these important things, so that, like, exactly where this folder is, because, again, I've misplaced this a couple times in the process of shifting, moving, renovations, etc. So my caution to you is, number one, if you do not have one of these, like, important documents that you've created, to protect yourself in case of an emergency, that you have paper printed documents, involving your identity and your car, your van, your, proof of whatever, bank accounts and what have you that you have, then, you may come to a point where you really need access to that information. And if you lose the internet, or you don't have access, or the power goes out, it's like, are you going to be able to do the things that you need to do? Are you going to be able to have the phone numbers and call the companies to, when you get to a place where you do have electricity, that you can set things straight and make sure that your auto payments, were paid, or that, those types of things, that you can manage what you have going. And so it's just something to consider. And sometimes when we think of hard things, it's not even that it's really hard. It's just that it's kind of a nuisance, or that it's, like, copying all these random things and putting them in a folder and labeling them. It's not the most fun task, but, this is what brings peace of mind, because, I know where it is. I know that I have it completed, and now it's like a safety net. I don't have to worry anymore. I can drop my shoulders another notch, and so I encourage you to do something like that for yourself, and to remind yourself that, yes, you can do hard things, even things that are uncomfortable. Now, for people that have been in a situation where they have been a victim in a situation, or they have been abused, or they were in a narcissistic relationship, or they were in a relationship with someone who's an alcoholic, or an addict, or someone who was just didn't have their head on straight, there's other precautions that I would advise, that you have in order as well. And, sometimes paying for additional services for protecting your items, whether that's a VPN, like security measures for your computers and your phone, having things that are helping you to monitor, to safeguard and protect your assets and protect the things that are important to you, your data, your ideas, etc. And again, I share this, that sometimes when you're in a relationship and you're not thinking that that person at that moment could do you harm. And I'm here to say that if you don't have these safeguards in place, and then you find out later that you were unprotected and that you didn't have your information, your vital information safeguarded, that when that information leaks out, it can cause a lot of problems. It can cause problems with your credit reports. It can cause problems with identity theft. It can cause problems with, data breaches and all of that. And so it is a good thing to have, a plan to safeguard and protect your information. And I'm not advocating at this exact moment a particular company or a particular resource. I'm just saying, look at what's out there, figure out what's going to work for you, and, protect your data, protect your vital information, so that, you have that you know who that it's locked up, and that who you're giving access to when you want to give access to that information, if you do need to. The other point that I'm going to highlight is, to freeze your credit reports. I think that's a really, really healthy thing to do, and especially if you're in a relationship with someone who's an addict or an alcoholic or a narcissist. They're just known to do anything to continue to go after that high, whether that's stealing your energy or your data or your income or whatever, your assets. So to protect yourself by shutting those things down, like your credit reports, so that you're going to get an alert that if somebody's trying to do something on your credit report, you're going to be protected that way as well. So these are just some practical tips, financial practical tips that I've implemented after I've been a person that has been a victim of narcissistic abuse and a victim of, being in past relationships with addicts and alcoholics. And over the time, you start to learn, how to be proactive and how to be one step ahead of the craziness that someone else is trying to, do to you. It's like, then when you see it play out, you're like, wait a minute, like, I need to be even more proactive in my life to lock down and protect my assets, my finances, etc., so that doesn't happen again. So I just encourage you to have these, protocols in place. And, it doesn't take that much time to set it up, but it does take some time to, gather the documents, copy them, and, have, a system of whatever works for you, and then to be able to track that system, know where you're placing it, and then to have the digital protocols in place to freeze your credit reports and, report any identity theft or any type of financial, malice that was done against you, so that, you're clearing your name and that you're putting yourself back on track in the way that you were before all of the abuse hit you. So I hope that you're not in that situation, but if you are, there are ways to do that. Again, I am available if you're interested in life coaching, health coaching, and fitness coaching, and I'm happy to share with you what has worked for me, and to be the listening ear to you, and to help you create whatever program is going to work best for you, your schedule, your lifestyle. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.